I made this roguelike with online PvP in 3 months, and this is how I did it. I've been wanting to make a game like this for quite a while. The idea was a kind of spiritual successor to the old Bowman Flash games I used to play as a kid. I knew I wanted to make a small game with similar mechanics but in 3D. But I didn't have enough of an idea of what I wanted the game to be, so I never started to work on it. And besides, I'm working on another much bigger game right now called Bloodrot 1918. But then, after finishing my last video, an opportunity opened up. The next piece of work involved upgrading to Unity 6 and reworking the netcode to use Unity's new multiplayer services SDK. I knew I could make a small game to test all this stuff out, and that's where Nock Load comes in. By the way, at the time of this video, you can download and play the playtest on Steam for free. Anyway, as always, I started out with a new Unity project and added a bean.
Daring today, aren't we?
After reading the documentation and samples of the new multiplayer services SDK, I got stuck in and wrote a bunch of architectural code and set up the lifecycle of the game, which would have a few distinct stages. To begin, you go into your first battle, and if you lose, well, you go back to the start. If you win, however, you go to the tavern. The tavern is where you get all your upgrades, and once you decide to venture on, you can go to the travel scene. This is where your band of merry men sit in the back of carts and shoot at ducks, in order to earn gold to buy more upgrades. More importantly, this is where the game is doing the matchmaking in the background, so that you're not just staring at a lobby screen the whole time.
Boring! Boring!
Then, once a match is found, or failing that, a single player game is made, you go into the main battle scene, and the whole thing starts again. That was the plan. Now we just had to actually make the game. I started with the main battle scene, since that was obviously the most important bit. Now that I had players spawning, I had to add arrows. I played around with just lobbing a rigid body on the arrow and chucking it in the right direction, but I knew this wouldn't be enough. For starters, this game can be played in online multiplayer, so I didn't want to have lots of physics objects everywhere if I could avoid it. I scanned the archives hidden away in the depths of my brain, and cast my mind back to high school maths, where we learned how to calculate projectile motion using Suvat equations. Projectile motion. Luckily, there's a lesson for that very topic on the sponsor of this video, Brilliant. Brilliant is where you learn by doing, with all sorts of interactive lessons in maths, programming, data analysis, and AI. Brilliant offers a most effective way to learn, learning with a first principles approach that gives you an understanding of the fundamentals, which you can then put into practice with their hands-on, problem-solving lessons that let you play around with the concepts. Brilliant can help build your knowledge with a few minutes each day and develop a powerful learning habit. This will let you constantly learn little by little without burning out, the opposite of mindless scrolling. There's a comprehensive range of maths courses that are built for learners of any level, whether you want to brush up on fundamentals or challenge yourself with advanced concepts. Build and use formulas to solve real problems. Maybe you want to enhance your visual and spatial problem solving skills, or perhaps just focus on nailing down the essentials. The choice is yours. To try everything Brilliant has to offer for free for a full 30 days, visit brilliant.org/obrooks, or scan the QR code on screen. Or you can click the link in the description. You'll also get 20% off an annual premium subscription. And just like that, I had fireable arrows in the game, all driven with projectile motion that I could easily control in my own code. Nice. Alright, these beans are fugly, so let's change that. At first, I wanted to make something like the characters from those old Euphoria videos. And I ended up with this, but before I show you, just don't laugh, alright? I'm not an artist, okay? I'm a programmer. Back to the drawing board. It's always easier when you're not starting from scratch though, so I found this free base model and hacked them up into individual pieces. That way I could just parent each body part to its respective bone and not have to worry about properly rigging and weight painting it. And with the art style I'm going for, it doesn't matter too much. Speaking of art style, what I wanted was something similar to Untitled Goose Game, where it's very flat but with a hint of shading. I'm pretty crap at shaders, so I was happy with the end result. I played around with custom shadow textures for a more hand-drawn vibe, but it didn't really work out. So I added the characters to the game, and after a few tries, it worked first time.
Nice.
With that done, I added my stylized shader to the characters and the environment, and I could start to see things coming together. I briefly toyed with the idea of hand-drawing the background elements, inspired by the illuminated manuscripts of old. This tree that I drew turned out pretty nicely, but once I stuck it in the game, it just looked really bad, and I knew this idea wasn't going to work out.
I know what I have to do, but I don't know if I have the strength to...
I had this nature asset pack that I got in some bundle ages ago. I replaced the shaders that these plants and trees came with to use my own shaders, and since the asset already uses flat colours, I reckon that was enough to get things looking decent. Next, I wanted to jazz up the characters so that along the way you'd recruit archers with different clothes and stuff. To that end, I made a system to randomly generate characters based upon a seed, and added some accessories like hats and a money pouch. I'll also be able to expand upon this system to add different hairstyles and facial hair, instead of having everyone look like Agent 47. I used a few Mixamo animations to get the main poses down, then I used the trusty animation rigging package that Unity provides to get some procedural aiming working. I added the bow, and there were a few issues getting the hands to look right, but eventually I managed to fix it. Now for the fun part, the blood-curdling wails of your dying foes. I found this pack of screams, and took the best ones and played the sounds at random whenever an arrow hit a character. Here's all of them at once. With Unity's particle system, I added blood particles to tie it all together. The blood collides with the archers and friendly fire is enabled, so your dudes can drench each other with bodily fluids. Friday night with the boys, am I right? Let's talk about the tavern and upgrades. First, I modelled the simple tavern and some furniture and added a barkeep. As for upgrades, there are two kinds. Global upgrades, which apply to your whole run in general as well as all your archers, and archer upgrades, which only apply to a single archer. Actually, there's sort of three types of upgrades, because you increase your party size by unlocking archers in the same way as you unlock other upgrades. I created a simple stat system, and now each upgrade can be configured to modify any given stat value. For example, we have a roast chicken, which increases the health of all your archers by 20%. Here we have an upgrade called Luck of the Goose. I am aware that this creature is in fact not a goose. That's because it's named after my cat, who is called Goose. This upgrade grants you a 10% chance of being able to reroll upgrades. Then there are what I call behaviour upgrades. These are upgrades that come with more complex logic. Right now there's only one upgrade of this type, which is Arrow Splitter, and it's one of the most fun upgrades. This upgrade has 3 tiers, which means as you get to Arrow Splitter 3, your arrow will split into 4. I find this to be really satisfying, especially the sound of all 4 arrows thudding into the ground, which kind of softens the blow of realising that you just missed with everything. For the travel scene, after you leave the tavern and before you start a battle, all your archers roll along in these carts, pulled by those invisible horse things from Harry Potter. Yeah, let's go with that. Here you control one of your archers at random, and you have to shoot as many birds as you can. Each bird you shoot down earns you gold, which you can spend on upgrades in the tavern. The other archers are controlled by the computer, and will also try to shoot the birds, and to be honest they're way better at it than me. I did run into this one funny bug where the NPC's bow turned into a Gatling gun for some reason. I added a few more upgrades like Midas Touch, which increases the gold you get from hunting birds, and I added armour upgrades. The only problem was that the armour didn't do anything yet. I hadn't implemented body part specific damage yet. This was simple enough to do though, because I had all that information ready to go, so all I had to do was apply it to the damage calculation. So now the body is split into 3 damage regions. Getting shot in the head does a lot of damage, getting shot in the upper body does a normal amount of damage, and getting shot in the lower body, well. And now the armour upgrades actually do something. That's pretty much all I can remember about what I've done over the last few months, so I'm going to finish here. Remember, this game is free to play on Steam during the playtest if you're watching the video when it comes out, so give it a go. What's next? I'm probably going to fix a bunch of bugs that come up, maybe add some more content and features to the game, if people like it, but other than that, it's pretty much done. It was always meant to be a small game, and I'm happy with how it turned out. It would be cool to put it in Steam Next Fest, so I might do that just to see what it's like. Either way, if no one plays it, it's still a success in my book, because I've learnt so much about releasing onto Steam and all that stuff, so I'm excited to take everything and apply it to Bloodrot, which I'm itching to get back to. But that's after I take a few weeks off over the holidays, because I've been non-stop for the last few months and I think I'm going to pass out if I don't end the video here. Merry Christmas.